Time Loop Chronicles. The Chief reveals what our sun is and how it operates in this world. The reunion day to the cold sun. Are you ready for another mind-boggling piece of information? In space we cannot see the projector. You can't see light in space due to it being a vacuum of nothingness. Light cannot shine inside a vacuum. Therefore, the ancients knew to call the sun the Black Sun. Instantly we were moving towards Earth, and before you knew it we were standing on the hot sands of the plains of the Sahara. The Chief then proceeded to reveal a new piece of the puzzle. Now what we are going to do is allow our physical senses to enter the dream world. I want you not only to witness this amazing phenomenon, but feel it also. Now as your senses are coming into the mind program, what is it that you feel? I am extremely hot. The temperature is blazing out here, and I would not want to have to live here. The sun is powerful and now I can see it clear as a bell. Notice how hot that blazing ball of fire in the sky really is while we are standing on the surface of the Earth in northern Africa, just 2,000 plus feet above sea level. And yet we couldn't even see nor feel the sun while in space. It is strange that in space we couldn't see this powerful light, but here we can. And let me tell you, it is scorching. But I would like to move on from here. The heat is unbearable. We instantly began to soar into the air and landed upon another Earth landmark. Mount Everest, which is 29,000 plus feet above sea level. Whoa, it is freezing here. Where are we now, Chief? We are standing on the highest mountain, at its uppermost peak. We are standing erect on top of the world. Again, we can feel the sensations of our external ecosphere. We notice a massive change in temperature. We both began to freeze in the super low temperature climate. And yet as we stood there, the Chief was simply pointing to the sun in the same sky, and the same place that we witnessed it prior, while standing in the desert. The Chief continued. Do you recognize a strange anomaly based on our two different experiences? Yes, Chief. It is freezing here, and yet in the Sahara it was hot as hell. What is wrong with this picture? The Chief asked. Well, I am standing here wondering, why is it bone-chilling ice cold freezing here, when we are on the top of the world, being much closer to the sun, and yet in the desert, we were frying like eggs for breakfast and it was miles further from the sun? That is an interesting question that few ever ask. Why is it the closer you get to the sun the colder it becomes? Scientists will give all sorts of impressive answers as to why this occurs. But logically it makes no sense. If you get closer to the object of the source of heat, then it only stands to reason the heat would intensify. Yet we are witnessing that the closer we get to the sun the colder it becomes. How is this possible? You got me, Chief. I never thought about that before. I just assumed the higher one ascended above sea level it just got colder. But that makes no sense. If we are closer to the sun, as the heat source, the land at sea level should be colder and all of the mountain tops should be arid deserts. We have what is called an atmosphere on this world. When space shuttles have come back through the Earth's atmosphere, they need special protection as they return towards the ground. As they move through the outer atmosphere, the shuttle begins to burn red hot. Just a sec, Chief. How come astronauts say they can see the sun, if it is not there to be seen in space? As you will come to learn, the sun is able to be seen when one is within a localized atmosphere. As for the astronauts, their ship's outer core creates its own atmosphere. Therefore, the sun is viewable. But why didn't we see it? because we are not visible either. We have no local atmosphere surrounding us. The atmosphere is a blanket covering the Earth or any object that is a three-dimensional holograph. This blanket appears to shield out much of the source of energy coming from the sun. If we did not have this blanket covering Earth, then nothing could survive on the surface. But not because of heat, as we have proven. So, our first clue is there is something in the atmosphere that is creating great heat, but it is not the sun. The sun is black and cold. We just proved. The higher we go into the heavens, the colder it gets, and the sun seems to also go missing. The very notion that the sun is giving off heat as a furnace obviously is not accurate. Yet something is happening. It is called holographic radiation. Even if we could block out the sunlight, then why wouldn't the world simply freeze? Every night the sunlight is blocked out on one side of the Earth. But we do not freeze, do we? In fact, at different places it can be still quite warm. Even at night. When the sun is on the other side of the planet. We should enter an ice age every night. Because the sun and its heat is completely blocked out. Good question. That doesn't make sense either. What is really going on here? The ground contains much more heat than, let's say, a mountain top. The problem is no one wants to tackle the real enigma of why this occurs. They think they already know by using basic science. But it cannot answer some of these quirks that we have personally discovered. The facts are which most in the scientific community do not want to accept. Is that the sun is not the heat source of planet Earth. Or any planet. It is the source of Earth's very existence. Say what? I have been trying to explain this for quite some time. Do you really know what a holograph is? I know about them, but I guess I am not sure I really understand it. A holograph is a recreation of a third-dimensional plane of awareness by using projection, reflection, and splitting and refracting light using mirrors. As an example, take an apple. You can then copy that apple by taking pictures of it while covering the entire 360 surface of the apple, both longitude and latitude. It is like mapping every square inch of the entire surface, and then using projection through a mirror. You can then split the signal of that source and make the apple appear somewhere else in space, three-dimensionally placed upon a two-dimensional backdrop. It will appear very real. It will seem three-dimensional. And it will have color and mass as a presence just like the original object. Yet it is just a projection. What is needed is a source background for the three-dimensional object that you want to project out in space to make it appear real. Secondly, you need a light splitter using something like a mirror. Lastly, you need a projection source of light. A very powerful light. And voila. You have your ingredients of a mass-projected three-dimensional object. Using higher technology, you can then even create a core or the internal mass of that object to be as real as the surface. Using additional software programming. Did you know that these things exist in our local space? And strangely enough, we have planets like Earth just sitting in space like a magic 8-ball. Just hanging there in midair, so to speak. Do you really believe that there is some sort of gravity that is holding all these things in space? What really is gravity? Does anyone know? Let's look at this sensibly. Something is holding these objects in space. Gravity is the invisible conjecture which gives a sense of reality to that which doesn't make sense. Nothing is being held by gravity. Gravity is simply a speculation to answer why a planet can appear to float in midair. However, using a projection of a holograph via a light source, any hologram can be made to appear as if it is floating in space, and gravity has nothing to do with it. If a hologram can appear as a three-dimensional object in empty space, then what is holding it there? It is light projection. There really is nothing there but a visual response to an elaborate hoax created by bending light via archangels or archangels. Then you are saying the sun is a projector and it is projecting out of itself everything we witness in space as a three-dimensional illusion. That is partly true. All the ingredients are there in space to make perfect holographs. Obviously. The heat or lack thereof that we become aware of as pertaining to the sun, or coming from the sun, is bringing us radiation via a light projection beam. The beam itself could be as cold as ice, but when it projects the object it can turn very hot. Take a movie theater. The light between the screen and the projector has no real temperature. But notice its projection source is very hot, and the reflection it gives off is a movie screen filled with scenes and objects. The beam itself has no heat until it magnifies the projected object in space. In this case, the heat is caused because the object is being produced by the projection itself. Therefore, it will be much hotter on the surface of Earth than the tallest mountain in the world, because the denser the terrain of the object, the more intense light is needed to perform the holograph to make it appear real and solid. Wait a minute, Chief. There is something missing. There are no mirrors in space that I am aware of. How is the object being split without mirrors? The mirror is what gives off the illusion of the holograph based on what you have just told me. Very astute and excellent question. But your premise is based on the idea that you cannot see the mirrors. Do you mean there are mirrors out in space that are creating this beam of light? No. Not out in space. The mirrors are more earthbound. The Chief and his friends surrounding chuckle. That doesn't make sense. If the Earth is the hologram, how can the mirrors be on Earth? Are you really ready for the answer? Let it fly. I am ready, I think. Have you ever heard the saying, the eyes are the mirror to your soul? Likewise, have you ever heard that the kingdom of heaven is within you? Yeah. Are you saying our eyes are the mirrors? Of course. They are. If you had your eyes removed, what would you see? Obviously, nothing. I would be blind. Exactly. The only reason you can see the stars and the planets and the sun and even the earth you stand on is due to your physical senses. The eyes are taking in the light and then refracting it, giving you the illusion that what you see is a three-dimensional reality. But it is nothing more than a projection lights. Camera. Action. I don't follow. If you have an item, let's use your Apple thesis. You then copy it, and then send the light of it from a lens through a mirror. And then the mirror splits the signal of the light wave, giving you the illusion of the object somewhere else. Wouldn't this prove that the light and the source would have to come into the mirror from behind the lens and then send that reflection outward? So how is it possible that our eyes, which see outside of us, could be the mirror to reflect what is coming from behind them? The question you have asked is what most scientific so-called scholars never want to answer. But they know the answer. And the answer to your question was already given by your dilemma within your question. Huh? You stated that the source and light of the object has to be within or behind the lens to reflect upon the mirror as it reflects out. And then that light must shine outward to give off the projection that the object is floating in space. What you fail to understand is, the eyes do not see anything externally, as there is nothing external happening. Within the next 2 decades in your time, you will learn this amazing science and you will be able to prove it. The eyes are simply the lens which is taking in the light from behind via the brain and projecting out what is coming from within. And then your lens refracts the light and you believe you are looking at a three-dimensional object. This a virtual reality. Holy cow, Batman. Holy cow is right. In truth, the object is within you. And the light is coming within the dark matter of your brain, as it is being projected out through the eyes, giving off the illusion of matter outside of you. The source of light and the object is within you, and your eyes become the lens which is revealing the reflection. The fourth dimensional realm which is sending that light outward, creating the appearance of that which is really from within. Without the eyes, you would never see anything. Nothing would really be there. It has to be projected to view it. It might not be there for me, but for someone else that has eyes, it would be there. Wouldn't it? Strangely, no. It is only there by illusion to the one who is refracting the light. But it is an illusion of a holograph. You see, the eyes are truly the windows not only to the soul but all the hidden worlds. Everything is within you. As such, the kingdom of the heavens is within you. Meaning everything you see out there is inside. Here. The chief knocked upon my forehead. If someone removed all your senses, sight, hearing, taste, smell, and touch, and all of them were completely disconnected, what would be your perception? That is tricky. Let me think upon this. I guess there would be nothing but blackness. A void. Nothing at all. One would not be able to sense anything. Well, sort of. The question you need to ask, would there be anything about you that was actuated? The only thing that would be there might be my thoughts. I would suppose I could still think and reason. But there would be nothing but blackness. No sight. No sound. No light. No touch. Everything would be gone. Total emptiness. Blackness. Very true. And what does that tell you? It tells me that our senses are the true reality of our life. Or maybe better stated, the true illusion of life. Our bodies are a computer inside the program which the soul mind is using to enter this playground. If you removed all the sensing software programming out of the computer, it would be a blank screen. If all senses were removed, would you be standing on Earth? Could you see, hear or smell anything? What would be real or not real? If I was standing on Earth and lost all sensations, obviously, I would still feel the surface because the planet is still there. The planet is very dense. Not so. If you have no sensation of touch and feeling, how would you describe touching the Earth? There would be nothing there to create the sense of a dense object. You wouldn't feel anything other than floating in nothingness. You would just be a thought inside of a holographic projection. Yes. But the Earth is still there. Isn't it? Whether holograph or not. That is your conundrum of the mind. The Earth is not there because it never was there. The senses are simply the software in the hard drive giving you the illusion of a solid Earth. And the only reason you know it is solid is because of the software program that creates the sensation of making you believe it is solid. You remove the software, you not only lose the sensation but you lose the entire program. Because the program projecting the Earth is only valid due to the sensation created by the software. As an example, let's say you take a computer program and place it on a disk. That is called software. This software can produce a picture of a person sitting on the beach. Now you place the disk in the computer and like magic the picture is there. Now remove the disk. Is the picture somehow still there? Well, I guess not. Exactly. When you remove the software from the hard drive, there is nothing there. It is a blank screen. You would be in the void. Now listen closely. The world needs to know this. In the beginning the gods created the heavens and the earth. The earth was without form and then moved into the void. Darkness was on the face of the deep. And the spirit of the gods, the programmers, hovered over the surface of the water. Then the gods said, "Let there be light," and there was light. What you just read is a pre-holographic world before the third-dimensional heavens and the earth came into being. This is when there was nothing. Just darkness everywhere. And what is the first thing that must be done to create a holograph? You need a light source. Thus, let there be light. There had to be a light source to project the objects in question, which would become the heavens and the earth, and then removed from the void. Suddenly, the gods just became computer nerds. What is interesting here is that everyone assumes the light being discussed in the early account is from the sun. It is the light of the pre-sun. It is the light of the projector before the sun could even be witnessed. Let me explain. The source of light comes out of the invisible world or fourth dimension, or from the invisible world before material creation, i.e. third dimension. If the fourth dimension is invisible to the third dimension, so also is its source of light invisible. This was the initial light that had to be created. It was an invisible light that needed a three-dimensional backdrop and mirrors to view what was 4D and make it 3D. There had to be a source coming from another dimension to create the initial step for this holograph. Before this had been done, the original heavens and earth were just photographs. Pictures. Maybe even motion pictures. But they were in the void. I.e. fourth dimension. the unseen world, beyond time and space. No one could behold them yet in this realm, they were still in the production stage. As an example, take a picture with a camera. The picture that was taken is right now in the void because it cannot be seen. It is inside the camera. Once you remove the film, you can then produce the picture that was in the void. It is obvious our universe is a copy of something that exists in pure energy form. However, what we are witnessing is simply a projection, with interactive holodeck principles. Now stay with me. A source of inner light had to be created to begin the projection sequence. Then the idea of space was designed so that the heavens and earth could be projected onto it, like a green screen that many movie makers use. Thus the second and third day was all about the firmament of the heavens and the waters. Water makes a great reflection tool, thus water was the tool for reflection. But it was not actually water, per se. It was energy waveforms, which appear like flowing water. Basically, what this was is energy waves being projected on the green screen called space-time, which then became the firmament of the heavens. Now what exactly is a firmament? A firmament in its basic definition is a large surface that is positioned as an expanse of what we may call space. So, something is being set up as a flat or circular reflection surface all around us to reflect a light source image. In this case, it is likened unto being inside a ball, and all the insides of the ball are the firmament of the heavens. We may call it in type, a movie screen. Set designers for movies create images and place them on a green screen so they can project whatever they desire upon it. And it will appear three-dimensional, without ever seeing the actual green screen. Now that there is a foundation for the projection, called a firmament, including a light source from within, to project on a green screen canvas, i.e. space, meaning the waters upon the firmament. To set these objects upon the next 2 days, they had to create a source for the reflection on the green screen canvas to project Earth and all the planets and external bodies in the solar system as holographic frames. This is where the projection of Earth first began, and the dome was created called the atmosphere, and the seeds of all plants were planted and grew. This is your picture moving into the production stage before the projection. But none of this was real. It was just the planning stage for the green screen. How do we know this? Because without the sun, nothing can grow. No plants would yield any measure of growth. The earth would still be barren. Why? Because it needs the projection source to make appear what is not yet there. Just like in a movie theater, the film may contain the entire movie, but without the projection all you will see is a black screen. So, all growth and yield of seed prior to them appearing were all pre-green screen productions, meaning they were the source that was being used to project from, but they had not yet been projected. In a sense, using a garden, it is the seeds prior to them being planted, but they existed. It was not until the 4th day they could reveal the sun, moon and stars as holographic projections. But notice, why put the sun, moon and stars together? What about the many orbital bodies in our solar system? How does the moon rank above great planets like Jupiter? As we have already learned, the moon is being used for a special purpose to control the functions of Earth. Therefore, it gets the same notoriety or billing as does the sun. There is a duality in these first verses when it spoke of Earth having been created and then it went into the void. What happened was, before the wars in our local universe occurred, Earth was somewhere else in the holographic realm, as I revealed earlier. But due to the wars and violence it was knocked out of its orbit and then restored. The holograph had to be changed to recreate Earth in another place. Thus, it went back into the void, meaning it went back into the production stage. Earth didn't move into another part of the solar system, It was simply removed from projection and replaced via the new projection, where it is now located inside the program. And then on the 5th day the sea and land and bird creatures can now come into view because the holograph is now working. Before the actual sun was placed into the sky, all there was is a green screen canvas. Hold on for a second. If the light is internal, then how can the sun be the projector? Since it is obviously external. Is it obvious? Did we see it while in space? The internal light will also project itself as the source externally. Eyes would need to be built into the system as avatar programs as the mirrors, so they can finalize the result of the light coming from within them, which when projected they would see it as the sun externally. But it is the sunlight shining internally that is now being seen externally via projection through the eye lens. On the 6th day a computer program was made to benefit from all this creation. It was called the human. Now the mirror within the eyes of humans, as it were with animals and other creatures prior, were now set where these things could be experienced, so it could appear that it was external. However, the mirror must not look at the reflection. If both the source and the projection meet, the mirror is damaged, and poof, it all vanishes. This means, don't stare at the sun. Laughter from everyone, and the 7th day revealed it all. Saturnalia or Sabbath day was the worship of the moon as Diabolis, which was known as Sin. Simulation Interactive Network. Everything in the solar system is a three-dimensional holographic projection made visible by the eyes. Beyond the solar system, it becomes a two-dimensional screen, like a movie screen. It is no different than being in a 360 planetarium watching a starlit night move across the screen. Therefore, the sun is a holographic projector creating the illusion of matter in space as the heavens and the earth, via the green screen templates. The human body is part of the program as also being a holograph within, so it can interact within this strange holodeck. Everything that is within our solar system is a holographic portrayal of what the Reprobi Angeli want us to see and believe. The ones that created this whole operation. If you attempted to travel through the entire solar system, you would come to its edge, and simply hit a corridor or wall, and would be unable to move forward. You would in fact hit the void, where the three-dimensional projection ends and the two-dimensional projection begins. You would run into the green screen. And that is the story of the holographic sun projector. Time Loop Chronicles. To be continued.